Service meeting to order, and I've got a chair's report on RACs, the Regional and Corporate Services meeting this morning. We had a broad discussion on the Canadian single-use plastics prohibition. Staff provided an explanation on the program. People will be expected to bring in their purchase paper or reusable plastics. And it led into an interesting side discussion regarding the somewhat associated program, the source separation program, which is evidently putting pressure on the private operators in the electoral areas that they're going to be required to have new trucks or separation facilities, and some of them may actually go out of business rather than make that investment. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves. We then talked about the regional growth strategy update. Directors expressed how they were impressed by the staff work on this project. And that was pretty much all that resulted in discussion this morning at RACs. And with that, I will turn things over to Ms. Kinham.
Thank you, Chair Dickey. So just looking for approval of the agenda, and late items.
Motion moved, Director Adamson, second Director Bales. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Contrary? Motion carries.
Next item is 4.1. We have a delegation from Community Futures North Fraser. I believe they are on the line.
Yes, I am.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm just going to share my screen here. And
Well, I see a presentation by Gwen Atkinson, and I see
yes,
a caption that's Gwen Schmidt.
it is. Yes, sorry, my last name is Schmidt. There was a miscommunication on my last name. Sorry about that.
Very unimportant.
Yes, I'm just trying to see if I can hit present, but for some reason, my apologies. There we go. Okay. Hello, everyone. I promise to make this quick and as entertaining as possible. My name is Gwen Schmidt. I am from the Executive Director from Community Futures North Fraser. Our office is located here in Mission. And I just wanted to give you a few minutes and a brief overview of what services we provide. So we were established in 1986. Community Futures North Fraser, we are a local nonprofit organization currently funded through PacificCan, which is the Pacific Economic Development of Canada. So we are, it's a regional development agency through the federal government. We provide small business services and support to people living in rural communities. There's 34 of us in BC, and there's 269 offices across Canada. So a brief overview of what we do. We help small businesses and entrepreneurs in our community, whether someone is thinking about starting a business, buying a business, expanding, or trying to manage change, which a lot of businesses have the last 2 years. We can assist at all levels. All of our services are free. We offer self-employment training, and there is, again, I don't know, I'm saying free, but I like to highlight that there is no cost associated with it. We also have business financing when traditional lenders can't help. Because we are federally funded, we do not compete with banks or credit unions. We are here to fill the gaps and when they're not able to help. So we can do microloans from 500 to 25,000, and then we can do upwards of 150,000 per CF office. We have done loans for much more than that. Currently, we're about to close on $1 million loan, but we just bring in other CF offices around the province to partner on those. The service area that our location provides services is Mission, Agassiz, Kent, Harrison Mills, and Harrison Hot Springs. As mentioned, there's 34 offices in the province, so I'm sure many of you will have a CF close to you that can serve if this is not the area. Our mandate is to help businesses in our area get started, expand, and be successful. We also support positive business environment in the communities we serve. We focus on economic development and wellness of our entire community. Just a few of our community partners and economic development partnerships. I'm sure you recognize all of these logos. So chambers in both Harrison, Agassiz, and Mission, the City of Mission, District of Kent, Harrison River Valley. We have close partnerships with all of them. Some current projects that have either recently finished, we did some wayfinder signage that we provided funds for in Harrison. We did some signage, interpretive signage development in Devil's Lake here in Mission. We have donated to the food bank. We've also provided some small grant money to Mission Museum to do an educational exhibits. The farmers markets we've helped out as well. This is just a brief overlook of our last fiscal. So we did over 620 business advisory services. We had 28 loans that were dispersed. We had over 500 participants in our business trainings seminars. We had 73 jobs created through business services and lending in our service area. And we were a part of 33 community-based projects. We also had over 900,000 in loans. Here is just a quick little snapshot. These are all Mission businesses that are currently clients, past clients, and any of their services could have been from advisory, business plan development, or loans or training. We have actually some Harrison ones here, Wild Forge Catering, Muddy Waters, Harrison Lavender. They are all our clients as well. And in summary, we are business specialists and mentors for all small businesses of all levels. We do like to focus on economic wellness of the entire community. We also have an Entrepreneurs with Disability program where they can access services and specialized one-on-one training. We have small business loans, flexible and affordable loan products from $500 to $150,000 per office. We provide business advice to individual entrepreneurs, such as marketing, financing, expansion strategies, cash flow, and a lot more. And community economic development, we play a key role of working alongside community leaders and other stakeholders to create projects, plans, and implement projects to grow and diversify our local economies. And that is the short of my presentation. I hope I didn't talk too fast, but I'm trying to be respectful of your time. Here is all of my contact info. Feel free to pass that around, reach out if you have any questions about our program. I will be happy to talk to any one of you. Thank you so much.
Very comprehensive, very succinct. Thank you, Ms. Schmidt. Any discussion, directors? Director Adamson. You press a button on the right.
Thank you. I live in Yale, which is the other side of Hope. Is Ashcroft the one that we would be dealing with in our area?
Yes, it's called Community Future Sun Country.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Good.
welcome.
Thank you, Director Adamson. Other discussion? Certainly the business sector is a very important part of our community. It's nice to know it's being strongly supported by you people.
Davidson?
Oh, go ahead, Director Davidson.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to echo your sentiments. Very short, succinct, and very, very useful presentation, because until this moment, I had no idea your organization even existed. And that's just a great takeaway. So thank you for coming.
Thank you
Good.
so
Thank
much.
you, Director Davidson. Yeah, Director Stobar, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, and thank you, Ms. Schmidt. Again, certainly glad to hear that things are going well, and with I'd like to see that large number of loans out there. It means that people are taking advantage of your services. Just a quick question. Do you, I've been involved with Stala Community for quite some time. I'm just curious, do you have minimum loan requirements from North, whatever, I've lost the title there, but just curious about that.
So minimum loan requirement, meaning security or credit?
Just minimum loan requirements on an annual basis that you're required to.
Oh, yes. So our funders through Pacifican, they do, our annual target is 8 loans per year, according to the loan portfolio and the funds that they provide us. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Director Stobar. Okay, that seems to be all the discussion we've developed. So we would like to thank you again, Ms. Schmidt, and certainly appreciate hearing about your organization.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was great talking. Have a great day.
Turn things back to our CAO.
Thank you, Chair Dickey. So item 4.2 is another delegation of Milo Buckingham from Bearzan Hospitality Group on the temporary use permit for Sasquatch Mountain Resort.
Mr. Buckingham, are you with us? There we go.
Hello, folks. Good afternoon, and I'm going to just share my screen here. All right, so I'm hoping you can see my PowerPoint here. So what I'm going to be discussing today is really a quick overview of the letter that I hope you have all received from February 23rd regarding our temporary use permit for the Sasquatch Mountain staff accommodations. And given a large portion of that is also to make sure everyone is on the same page and aware of the process and the things that are under that we've taken on for the utilities company as well. So discussing the temporary use permit, our current staff accommodations are absolutely critical to the operation of Sasquatch Mountain Resort. And so when you folks are discussing it later in the agenda here, please be aware that without the ability to have staff living on mountain, we would not be able to operate. Through the neighborhood plan, which is what the FERD and our community plan has called it, we're working on what we call a phase 1 master plan. And so with that, we've already invested and had a high resolution LiDAR done of our entire controlled recreation area. And we have brought on Brent Harley and Associates, who did the master plan for the resort. Him and his group are now working on a master plan specifically for the community, for what phase 1 is going to look like, right down to what each neighborhood is going to look like. And that will be the background and sort of meat and potatoes of the plan once that neighborhood plan comes in place. There are pieces that need to be in place or that we are working on in the meantime, and the current temporary staff accommodations is one of those. And so as this plan comes into fruition, that will determine exactly where the permanent home for this is going to be and what all of the pieces are going to be. As I know you discussed in your last meeting, that we are currently on a septic field for those accommodations. The long-term goal is that everything in the community is hooked up to our sanitary plant and that processing. But it is important to know that on that side of the creek, there is currently no access. So to put that in place is going to require crossing of the creek, as well as an additional pump station. So those are absolutely in the long-term plans, but those are going to be part of a much larger plan. As you mentioned as was brought up during your last meeting, these utilities, water and all of the other utilities, have successfully been providing for these staff accommodations. And based on the letter and report that was presented by or given by Wedler Engineering, is absolutely capable of continuing to do so. So I wanted to, these are also in the letter, but I wanted to address a couple of the concerns that were brought up at your last meeting. The one is that there was concerns regarding the type and size of our water mains. Our water mains, there are two different types of water mains feeding through the village. The first one is the high pressure water lines or water mains. And those essentially bring the water to different parts of the community. And those then feed what we call low pressure water lines or water mains. And so those are attached to the same line, but there are restrictors put in place that actually slows the rate of the water to make it usable. So it is at a proper pressure for a household. So the amount of water and the pressure that is produced is essentially affected by three different things. The first one is the available supply. So that's the gallons per minute produced by our water plant. or the amount of fresh or clean water that is available at any one time. The demands on the system, so the size of the mains into each community, they are all slightly different, but they have been put in and designed by engineers on what the demands of those community or those parts or subdivisions are. Leaks in the system have been plaguing us for a while, and we have a new team in place that over the last 8 months have identified and fixed at least 4 breaks in our water mains. We estimate that has saved us approximately 300 gallons a minute and made a marked improvement on our ability to provide water consistently, especially at high volume times. To the point that one of the condos have been known for their concerns about water pressure. We've actually received complaints from them now that the water pressure is too high. Concerns about fire hydrants. It is important to know that all of our fire hydrants are inspected. They meet code, industry standards, and flow rates. Of particular note, and this came out of our research or the engineering from Wedler Engineering, the report, is the fire hydrant on Laurel Road is currently a 4-inch main. That is adequate, and it is adequate for the area around there. But for what we plan and our growth, we need that to be at least a 6-inch main, and we have plans in place to replace that proactively this summer. Water plant, getting back to what we talked about through gallons per minute and the available water source. So we are currently working on plans to replace the screens in our raw water. And so without going into a lot of detail, I will say that our system can either have water passively run through it, and that's the way we're currently running. And in high volume times, we can actually pull water into the system, but that very quickly clogs up the system. And it's replacing the screen will improve our ability to pull water and improve the pace of the water that's coming through the system. We have added self-cleaning sand pre-filters. So we were currently on a 3-filter process. We are now on a 4-filter process to make sure that each of the systems is progressively better and not clogging up the system to be more reliable and constantly running. We have upgraded our UV filters to be able to handle a higher volume consistently without error. And we have partially completed and are in process of upgrading our automation and diagnostic services for our water plant. So right there on its own, our water capabilities have improved through the fixing of the leaks and working on this. Big part of our plan is reintegrating a balancing tank, and that was previously part of the system. It is requiring us approximately $120,000 to properly bring it up to code standards and make that part of our current plan. That will add on-demand available clean water resources, adding over 80,000 US gallons that available at a moment's notice. These plans have been approved by Fraser Health. The plans have been completed, and we have discussed it with the FERD with Tony Barco. And parts and contracting has begun. So effective a couple of days ago, we have started reissuing letters for new builds because we are confident that we are going to be able to not only meet our current demands, but the growth that this has. So from a water study, the study that you folks have already seen is really just understanding where the base level where we're at, and that we can continue to maintain where we are at. We have already engaged Wedler Engineering to do a second phase of this study to discover truly what our capacity is, given the improvements we've made to our water plant, as well as the reintroduction of the balancing tank. Assessment of all infrastructure to make sure that we are proactive as we move forward, and assess how much we can grow before we have to look at more infrastructure. And so phase 3 is, once we have that assessment and know when we are going to need to continue to grow, is getting that designed. Arden Engineering is an example, but there are a number of engineering companies out there that we can work with to determine what our next source of water will be and how we're going to expand our water service. Wanted to briefly discuss our other utility companies. So from an electric standpoint, we have already engaged 3 electrical firms, and we are in the process of finalizing which one we're going to work with to do a full assessment of our system. Works towards isolating parts of the grid so that when there is an upgrade or an install done, we do not need to isolate the entire grid. We can just do a given neighborhood. And to work with BC Hydro and the companies that we have chosen to start these conversations with all have great relationships with BC Hydro to make sure that we are set up for success in the future. Our sanitary plan, we have a couple companies that we have engaged and are in process of communications with, looking at planning, upgrading, and even the possibility of replacing the system if necessary in the future. We're also looking at billing and metering. So we're talking with several different companies there to make sure that we are really getting into to the level of service that our customers want and deserve. And thank you. And I wanted to get through that and make sure I left time to answer any questions.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Buckingham, for your report, and I'll turn things to directors. Any discussion?
Wendy,
Well, you had Director Bales.
I wondered, will the pumping bring more water if it's needed with the extra housing and things?
So from so right now, our water facility is capable of more than the current housing. The challenge has been those leaks in the system, as well as making sure that our filters don't clog too quickly as we're pulling water through that. So the improvements that we make there, as well as the adding into the balancing tank, will add us what we believe a significant room for growth. But the engineering studies are going to tell us how much room it really adds and at what time frame we're going to need to make sure we have other options available.
Offers for more housing and water septic will need FERD approvals. Will that be gotten and close to there's good for Graham Danilow's comment on it.
Okay, we'll look to Mr. Danilow's.
Thank you, Director Bales, through the chair. Perhaps a good suggestion at this time would be for us to connect with Mr. Buckingham after the meeting at some time, and we'll just get a better idea of the works involved and confirm whether any FERD approvals are required.
Good, thank you, Mr. Danilow's. Directors.
Davidson?
Go ahead, Director Davidson.
Right. So I guess to Mr. Buckingham and perhaps to Mr. Danilow's, I'm just trying to understand, I think a comment that was made when we last had this matter at committee around that this is in support of a temporary use permit application for 3 years. It's a renewal. The current one's expired. And there's a potential for further renewals down the road. And that comment about the potential being there for further renewals kind of caught my attention, because my understanding is that you can only renew a temporary use permit once. And that comes back to the sort of larger strategy that Mr. Buckingham was speaking to. And with this renewal, does that basically put a 3-year time window on it to get it done? Or we're looking at multiple renewals of this down the road? Again, looking at section 921.14 of the Local Government Act, it says you can only renew it once, but I've heard contrary, and I'm just wondering if anybody can share any light on that, both from the staff side and from Mr. Buckingham's side, as to what Berazan's understanding is and what staff's understanding is. Thank you.
Okay, maybe we'll look to Mr. Danilow's first.
Thank you, Chair. Director Davidson's quite right. Temporary use permits can be renewed one time for a further 3 years. At that point, the applicant could apply for a new permit and the board could consider issuing a new temporary use permit. And in that respect, temporary use permits can roll over and be extended for periods longer than 3 years. I would defer to Mr. Buckingham with respect to the timelines that the Bearzan group has for replacing the temporary housing with more permanent housing.
Thank you. From our standpoint, is our goal is to grow and move the whole business forward and really get to a permanent home for the staff accommodations. We know that not all of this is going to move quickly. The phase 1 master plan, to getting it through to becoming a neighborhood plan, is between design, public consultation, and approval through the FERD. We know it is going to be done as quickly as possible, but we know it may not be a fast process. And so that's where the flexibility to continue using these until a formal plan is put in place and can be executed, because we really do want to make sure that the next stage here is a permanent stage and not a temporary one.
Any timeframes on that? Just wondering.
That is this side of things, I'll be honest, is quite new to me, but it is. I would expect it's going to be probably a year or two to get the plan organized, and then whatever that consultation process looks after that is. So at the end of the 6 year, if we go with 3 year plus another 3 years, I would love to say we're completed at the end of that. There's a lot of moving parts here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Davidson. Any other discussion? Director Adamson, go ahead.
How long is this temporary, the first one temporary use permit you got, how long ago did it expire? That's my question.
That I don't recall the exact date here. We've been working with the province and the FERD. As unfortunately, before my time, there were a couple pieces of this that were missed, and so we're playing a little bit of catch up here to get that going.
Okay.
Good. Go ahead, Director Adamson.
Yeah. So okay. So you have 1 3 year temporary use permit. You're going for your second. You don't know how long it's expired, but you're already pitching us for the third in advance. I just wonder how serious you are on this. Like, if the temporary use permit for 3 years, you should solve it in 3 years. I don't know. I don't really have a question.
You know what, I'm just, if it's all right, I will just speak quickly here, going back to the timelines. Is we want to keep this moving forward, but we are building and designing a community, and we've got to make sure that all of the pieces are in place, and there are a bunch of pieces in process right now that cannot be rushed, and I'm not sure what those timelines will look like, but we are committed to getting there as quickly as possible.
Good. Thank you, Director Adamson. Any other discussion? Not so. Yeah, we watch with great interest the evolution of the Sasquatch Mountain Resort and community, and it's nice to see our outdoor recreation facilities expanding and being improved. So we thank you very much, Mr. Buckingham, for appearing before us today, and we'll get back to our agenda.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair Dickey. So the next item on the agenda is 5.1, which is the draft Electoral Area Services Committee open meeting minutes of February 10th, 2022.
Moved Director Adamson, second Director Dixon. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, contrary, motion carries.
5.2 is the draft Electoral Area Services Committee of the Whole open meeting minutes of February 17th, 2022.
Motion, Director Bales, second Director Adamson. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, contrary, motion carries.
And 5.3 is the draft Electoral Area Services Committee of the Whole open meeting minutes of February 22nd, 2022.
Move Director Bales, second Director Dixon. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
6.1, we have appointment of chief election officer and deputy chief election officers for the 2022 general local elections.
Looking for a motion. Move Director Bales, second Director Davidson. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
6.2, we have the 2022 Christmas closure of the FVRD corporate offices. There is a motion for your consideration.
Move Director Dixon, second Director Bales. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
7.1, we have a 2022 grant and aid request for the DeRoche Farmers Market in electoral areas C and G.
Motion Director Bales, second Director Stobart. Any discussion? Hearing none. Oh, Director Stobart, is that?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't know why your light went on, but all those in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
7.2, we have the 2022 grant and aid request for the Sunshine Valley Ratepayers Association in electoral area B.
Move Adamson, second Engar. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
8.1 is an information item. It's the development permits issued in 2021 by the Director of Planning and Development. And I know Mr. Danilus would be happy to answer any questions if you had any.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move forward.
8.2 is also an information item. It's the Harrison Mills Neighborhood Plan Progress Update for March 2022.
Discussion. Hearing none, we'll move forward.
8.3 is Development Variance Permit 2022-01 to increase the maximum size and height of a proposed shop at 10427 Woodrose Place in electoral area D.
Okay, motion Director Adamson, second Director Bales. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
8.4 is temporary use permit for staff accommodation at Sasquatch Mountain Resort 20955 Hemlock Valley Road in electoral area C. And I would just note that Mr. Buckingham did remain on the line if there were any follow-up questions at this point in time, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Motion. Director Bales moves, second Director Engar. Discussion. Director Bales.
Yes, I would be in favor, but it's at the last year of the second temporary use comment or period. And so it's got to go through some better standards, I think, but I will favor it for now.
Okay, thank you, Director Bales. Any other discussion?
Yeah, sorry, I was wondering on that as well. If it's a second temporary use permit and there's been time passed in between, does that count as part of that permit, or do we start, like, are they getting a few years free kind of thing?
Through the chair to Director Adamson, my understanding is because the other permit had expired, this is a new application, so it would be considered as a brand new temporary use permit.
Oh. Hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if I get a temporary use permit for 3 years and then I spend the next 2 years applying for the next one, it starts on the third year, like, you know what I mean?
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean.
Okay, so did they operate this place last year without the special permit and the year before? Like, that's what I'm
I
saying.
see. While it was expired, were they in contravention?
Yeah.
So perhaps we could turn that one over to Mr. Danilus.
Right.
Through the chair. The board previously issued a a temporary use permit for these temporary staff accommodations in 2017. That permit expired in November 2020. The temporary staff accommodations has been operating not in compliance with the zoning since then. And if the board grants this new temporary use permit, it will be good for a period of 3 years from the date of issuance.
Okay, Thank you, Mr. Danilus. Any other discussion?
Chair Dickey, I see that Director Stobart has his hand raised.
Oh, thank you. Go ahead, Director Stobart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I realize that, yes, some time has lapsed where we're in advance of the TUP, but I certainly understand the need to move and to improve systems up there, and at least this is getting that done. But also, even though this of course means a lot to the Hill and whether in their operation, it also means a lot to a lot of other businesses in the local area that depend on that ski hill being open throughout the winter.
Good. Thank you, Director Stobart.
Davidson?
Go ahead, Director Davidson.
So outside the scope of this particular application notwithstanding, it does kind of raise the question, when you have a temporary use permit that expires and on the staff side, to Mr. Danilus, what's the procedure when a TUP expires? Do applicants or do permittees get notification and saying, hey, you need to renew, or was this basically a time where staff was impacted by COVID, perhaps? I'm just trying to understand what it just seems like something fell through the cracks here procedurally.
Okay, Mr. Danilus.
Thank you, Chair. Certainly, there's been a lot of contact between staff and the Bearzan Group about the compliance of this temporary staff accommodation, both on the building permitting side and on the planning side with respect to the temporary use permit. We've been working with the applicant towards compliance with the zoning bylaw, and of course, the issuance of this temporary use permit would put the temporary staff accommodation in compliance. But I assure you, there has been extensive contact between us and the Bearzan Group since November 2020, and even before that date, with respect to the temporary use permit that expired, with respect to non-compliance with zoning, and also non-compliance with the building bylaw around a building permit. Happy to report at this point, building permitting issues are cleared up. There's a provisional occupancy for the building, and if the board grants this temporary use permit, it will also be in compliance with the zoning bylaw.
So as a follow-up, I guess, to Mr. Buckingham, if he's still on the line, what was the barrier to applying for a renewal in 2020?
So I trust that you can hear me here.
Yep.
We can hear you.
Excellent. So I've been with the company for just over 3 years now, and have been new to this side. So I can't really speak to how we got to the point that we did, but I know working with Mr. Danilus and his team, when we found out that we were due for a renewal, we applied for it. And at that point, there were things that were raised that I was not aware of, that were never completed in the first place. And so from that time of renewal, we've been working on making sure all of the pieces got in place so that we can do this properly. And so we've been going back and forth. We've learned a lot, and we've worked on a lot of things. What we hoped was just going to be a quick, easy renewal was not that. And so we've been working with the team at the FBRD and planning and on the building side to get us where we needed to be and should have been in the first place.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buckingham. Thank you, Director Davidson. And thank you, directors, for some thoughtful discussion. It's a complicated world out there, and things don't always roll the way they may be expected to. I don't see any other discussion. So on the motion, all in favor of awarding the temporary use permit? In favor, contrary, motion carries.
8.5, we have Agricultural Land Commission application, proposed 3-lot subdivision at 1095 Columbia Valley Road in Electoral Area H.
Okay, looking to Director Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the motion that is in this agenda is not the one I wish to move. Can I just move the other one?
That's correct.
Okay, my move is to refuse this this application and to, I guess, not send it on to the ALC.
Okay, thank you, Director Dixon. Second, Director Adamson. Further discussion. Go ahead, Director Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to really make sure that I've spent a lot of time going through this application and the report and what the applicant is wishing. Asked lots of questions, also spoke to people in the area. For me, it comes back to our OCP that we worked really hard on. It stipulates that any subdivisions or division of farmland is a minimum of 4 hectares. And this request is to go from one piece of farmland, almost I think 10 hectares, to 3, adding in additional homes, additional structures. That is just not, as far as I'm concerned, and what I'm hearing, what the residents are looking for, the ones that are there. 1 hectare is not close to 4. And so I know that also within the ALC, a secondary structure could be an option as well if the applicant chooses to farm. And that might be another option as well. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Director Dixon. Further discussion? So hearing none on the motion to refuse sending the application forward to the Agricultural Land Commission, all those in favor? Contrary? Motion carries.
8.6, we have another Agricultural Land Commission application for a non-farm use in the Agricultural Land Reserve at 53395 Yale Road in Electoral Area D.
Okay, so motion,
Move Dixon, but I have an amendment to the motion.
go ahead.
So keep the first part the same, the Fraser Valley for the application. And the second part would be, and that we direct staff to negotiate a servicing agreement that addresses the cost to FVRD of delivering services that would not be covered by property taxes if the property became eligible for potential property tax exemptions.
Okay, thank you, Director Dixon. Seconder. Second, Director Adamson. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
8.7 is Cultus Lake Park Board request to implement changes to the Cultus Lake Park zoning bylaw number 1375.
Okay, and motion.
I'd like to move to defer this item. We've had, am I allowed to speak to it? Briefly,
To refer it back to staff.
just to refer it back to staff. We just had some communication about half an hour ago that I think it's important that the staff have a chance to connect with the Cultus Lake Park Board and bring it back in April.
Great, thank you, Director Dixon. Second, Director Adamson, on the referral. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
8.8, we have Rogers Communications Facility, Coquihalla Summit Recreation Area and Electoral Area B.
Move Director Adamson, second Director Stobart. Any discussion? Director Adamson.
Be happy to have it come, and it's great safety for the area, and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Director Adamson. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
8.9, we have temporary changes to liquor licensing at the Sasquatch Inn and Electoral Area C.
Looking for a motion. Move Director Bales, second Director Stobart. Any discussion? This has come through for a lot of years, it seems to me. It's just a right ritual of spring or something. So seeing no discussion, all in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
8.10, we have official community plan and zoning amendment application for 13088 Sylvester Road in Electoral Area F to facilitate a 2-lot subdivision.
For a motion.
Move Davidson.
Move Director Davidson, second Director Adamson. Discussion.
Davidson.
Go ahead, Director Davidson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I support the motion. It should move forward to the public hearing stage once the technical requirements are sorted out. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Director Davidson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
So moving down to item 11, which is reports by electoral area directors.
Okay, so we will start with Director Angar.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I attended the AGM last night of our resident association. And they are also promoting a standard AGM, good outcomes. They're also promoting another event for next month. And that's going to specifically help local residents address some of the issues surrounding being prepared for disasters and whatnot, as we've just experienced. So yeah, they're a very active group and looks interesting going forward. I should note that, well, I think that's another conversation, but lots of fire smart things coming up in my area, and really looking forward to doing the 2 community assessments that we have booked for Post Creek and Schlessie Park to make sure that that we're prepared as much as possible going into fire season. And lots of work to do in that regard. And I understand staff have been working hard to get us ready for our Fire Smart Day at the Fire Hall coming up again in May. So it'll be nice to get back on track. We did these things before COVID, but great news to be doing even larger events, and hopefully we can make it happen in May. So that's about it for me for now. Thanks.
Good, thank you, Director Angar. Director Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, it's getting busy again. I had an opportunity to meet with one of the residents that had their home destroyed by the flood, and as well as one, not sure what it is, but somebody from disaster relief was there, and he spent the whole day just going through their property and the damages, and I guess we'll prepare a report for them. So hopefully they get some financial support. It's great to see that happening. We were looking forward to a Fire Smart assessment as well coming up in March. So for a couple of neighborhoods in Area H, and I think that will be fabulous information for our area as well. Heard from Modi just yesterday that all the engineering reports on the damage to the Columbia Valley Road and Parmenter Road, and I know we don't do roads, but people are really wondering when this is happening. So that's good news. They've been done. They've got the report and the timeline. I just wasn't given an exact timeline. It'll be soon. So it will be nice to have the road fixed up a little bit. Some great work going on the Lakeside Trail, and as the park staff, Megan Jackson, and I saw Mike Neal out there with a shovel the other day, are just continuing to build the Lakeside Trail as we're able, and so that is looking really great. And the goose management, we've got this dedicated team at Cultus Lake that kind of looks after managing the goose population. So that is trying to educate people around don't feed the geese, please. It really just encourages more of them to come, as well as looking at some habitat and looking for a few nests as well. That's it for me. Thank you.
That is a busy place. Thank you, Director Dixon. Director Adamson.
Well, it's way slower where I live. In Yale, not too much. They're just finishing up some renovations on the thrift store. They hope to have it open on Saturday. And Sunshine Valley is just plugging along too. And Laidlaw is dealing with the pipeline. And Othello's dealing with the loss of homes. So it's quiet. But thanks.
Thank you, Director Adamson. Director Stobart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple things. One, certainly happy that we've got a somewhat relaxed COVID rules, allowing our community hall in Desroches, as well as our Lions Club, to getting back to doing the fundraising that they do so well, and all the support that they give to a number of local charities in the area and our schools as well. So certainly happy to see those things back on the go again. Also waiting for DFA response. The local diking district there put in a request for funding to do the repairs to the dike on Taylor Road. I want to certainly thank our Lacombe resident, Rick McCamey, who so graciously allowed traffic on that road to route through his front lawn for the last 3 months while we were waiting for some repairs. So again, just want to make sure that he's recognized for that, and we want to thank him for his neighborly way of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Stover. Would you like us to send a letter out from the regional district to recognize their contribution?
I think I would.
Yeah, could staff do something? Good. Thank you, Director Stobart. Director Bales.
ACES is basically doing a seed trader this Saturday, 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. That's all I got to report for now.
Good. Thank you, Director Bales. Director Davidson.
Thank you, Chair. Something finally getting caught up with, and that's following up with the community on an aggressive dog survey. So heartfelt thanks to Ms. Barker and Ms. Van Ness for their help with this. Survey results aren't back in yet, but it's trying to figure out the timelines and all the what ifs to how this might go. Their help's been invaluable, and that's something that's been in my mind ever since I got here. It seems that every time with the new season, with the new spring comes aggressive dog complaints, and Area F is not currently serviced by that. So we want to find out if the community wants it or not. But beyond that, like other directors, we've got, cleanup from flood still going on. Beyond that, it's quiet. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Director Davidson. And for POPCOM, we have a lot of pipeliners at work in the community, a lot of residential development going on, and we have a cell tower going up. So we may be dragged into the 21st century yet. So, good. That's all in the way of director's reports. So I'll turn things back to Ms. Kinnaman.
Thank you, Chair Dickey. So now we move to public question period for items relevant to the agenda. We do have a member of the public here in our boardroom today, and we perhaps have some folks online. I've just asked our corporate officer if we have anybody on the line, but this would be the opportunity if either the public in the boardroom or online would like to participate and ask questions of the committee.
So anything in that department appears to be fairly quiet.
So this would be the opportunity. We do have one member of the public on the line. If you do have a question relevant to the agenda or relevant to today's agenda, please just hit the raise hand function to indicate that you have a question that you'd like to ask. And does the one member of our no? Does not appear that the member of public in our boardroom wishes to answer or ask a questions, and we have not received any email or letter questions, and it would appear that the one member of public has no questions.
Good. Thank you, Ms. Van Ness. Turning things to Ms. Kinnaman.
Thank you. So just looking for a resolution to close the meeting.
Move Director Adams and second Director Dixon. All those in favor? Contrary, motion carries.
Okay, and just give us 5 minutes.
Great, thanks.
Why you guys don't come? You have to do all the work. Be zero, right? It's hard from the site. At home, it's different, right? Like here.